Okay, thank you very much.
Okay,
So,
finally.
hi to all. Good morning. Sorry for the short delay. We had some problems with the audio here. So let me try to. So I want to welcome you all in this final event of ELECTRON. My name is Theodoros Rokas. I'm with Insight Consulting, and my role in ELECTRON is the leader of work package that is related to all dissemination, communication, and exploitation activities. So we have this final event of ELECTRON. We are in the final month of the project. It has been a 3-year project. Panagiotis later will present some more details about the project. I would like to thank NTNU for inviting us here in Hamar, Norway, and arranging all the logistics and for their hospitality. Let me share my screen to show you some short introduction of the agenda. So, okay, so we have split the agenda into several sessions. The scope of this event is not only to present the major outcomes of ELECTRON, but also to have an interaction with other European projects and also from our local partners here in Norway. So, in brief, the agenda is organized. First, we have a session about the policy contribution and recommendation of ELECTRON. I will introduce later Grigore that will do this presentation. Then we have a session that we have views from other European projects. We have 3 presentations from Eratosthenis project, SECAN project, and Cocoon project. After that, we will have a short coffee break. Then we continue with the view of Norsix, the Norwegian partners there. After their presentation, we have 4 presentations from them. Then we will have the lunch break. And in the final session, after the lunch, we have the view from ELECTRON. So we have a general presentation of ELECTRON, the 4 main pillars of ELECTRON and the 4 use cases. And then we have some selected demos. We tried hard to find some demonstrations that will be really interesting for the audience. And then we have some room for open discussion from the participants. After each of the sessions, we have allocated some time for questions. So we receive questions from the audience here in Hamar and also from the audience connected through Teams. In case you want to have a question in Teams, please write down something and I will give you the rights to activate your microphone and your camera. Then please introduce yourself in order to make that question. Just as a final remark from my side, at the end of the project, I will share with you this link. It's a short questionnaire. It will take about 5 minutes of your time. It has to do something with the presentation that we saw from the ELECTRON side. It will be useful for us. It will help us to get some input that will be used in some of the deliverables regarding the exploitation and dissemination communities activities, of ELECTRON. So, since we are already behind time, I will stop sharing this and I will ask Grigore Samatescu from TUV Romania to do the first presentation. So Grigore has been really active. It's the leader of Work Package 7 in ELECTRON that it's dealing with all these activities. So if I understand correctly, he will try to give an overview of the activities. We have been really active with the help of Grigore in this area. Just me trying to find the window. Oh, I believe you can see the screen.
Okay, Grigore. Thank you. Okay. Hello. Thank you very much, Theodoros, for the introduction. My name is Grigore Samatescu. I'm working with TUV Austria Romania for the implementation of ELECTRON project, and this presentation is based mainly on the work done in one of the dedicated work packages together with other consortium partners concerned with energy ecosystem policies and recommendations. So it's my pleasure to give this first talk, and I hope to be like a soft entrance to the technical topics that will be discussed during the day. So as a very brief context, so if you look up the ELECTRON project, you'll see that the overarching goal is to build this new generation FS platform. So when we think of a platform, it's a complex system that integrates multiple components and modules with the focus of increasing the resilience of energy systems against cyber, privacy, and data attacks. This is achieved mainly through integration of advanced technologies. You can also see the banner of ELECTRON there. So there are many components that use high-level AI and ML components, post-quantum cryptography, and advanced ITC techniques. These are tested in 4 highly relevant use cases. And also here in the afternoon program, this will be detailed. What is our job? So in the policy part of the project, we try to build a bridge. So first of all, have a good knowledge of what is happening on a technical side, implementation side, but also connect this to the current cybersecurity environment for regulation, standardization, and certification in Europe. And the main action that we have taken is to study this regulatory and policy landscape, to study in depth key legislation and standards, which I will go through in the first part of my presentation, and then try to engage with policymakers and communicate these achievements and these technical solutions, of course, together with the other dissemination activities in ELECTRON, and to get meaningful feedback and increase the awareness of our work. When we first started, around 2 years ago, preparing for this work package, first of all, we found it useful to do this Venn diagram and to define our place. So ELECTRON is somewhere in the middle because it combines energy system knowledge, modern digitalized energy system knowledge, cybersecurity aspects, which are generally very broad and cover a wide range of IT systems and products, and let's say the more, I won't say bureaucratic or cumbersome certification and standardization aspects, but which is very important. Around these 3 areas, we looked at the stakeholders. And as you might well know, there are several EU agencies and commission structures that deal with cybersecurity. Of course, we have the most important is ENISA, but also the ECCC. ACER in the field of energy regulation has a role to play in energy cybersecurity. There are many national bodies, computer system incident response teams, energy regulators, and so on, and quite a few professional and standardization bodies. So many of them are international, and they have an important role to play in setting the agenda for regulation for energy cybersecurity. And of course, we also have the beneficiaries, which have to implement these regulations in a cost-effective way and in a sustainable way to ensure robustness of the energy system. If we go a bit more specific, so trying to narrow it down, first of all, we looked at regulations. As you might have seen or followed, as the cybersecurity awareness has increased due to many cyber attacks, cyber incidents, ransomware, and other types of incidents, there is a big wave of regulation at the European level. And the most important, of course, are the first 2, the Cybersecurity Act of 2019 and the NIS2 directive, of which everybody is talking nowadays. But we also have the Cyber Resilience Act in preparation. We have a Critical Entities Directive, which is focused mostly on physical security, but has direct connections to NIS2. And then we have other type of horizontal regulations, like the AI Act, GDPR, and so on, which contain elements that might be relevant for energy cybersecurity. Below that, we start to look at the sector-specific regulations, and in our project, we focus mostly on the NCCS. NCCS is the Network Code on Cybersecurity. It focuses specifically on energy system operators that are engaging cross-border energy flows, where incidents can have a cascading effect across Europe. And starting this year, the EUCC entered into force, which is the European cybersecurity certification scheme based on common criteria, which replaces the previous national certification arrangements for ICT products, services, and systems. And for the standards, there are many standards. We have a dedicated task on standards, but I have highlighted two of them because they can directly influence compliance with the regulations. So there is the ISO 27001, which is very broad in implementing information security management system, and more specifically for the automation and control systems that are also used in the energy sector, we have IEC 62443. Okay, going forward, so as I said in the first part, I will just highlight some key aspects in increasing timeline, so to say. The EU Cybersecurity Act was adopted in 2019. It had two main objectives. One is the one at the bottom, actually. So it increases the ENISA mandate and gives additional responsibilities to the European Network Information Security Agency. And it also gives ENISA responsibility in setting up this European cybersecurity certification framework. This cybersecurity certification scheme or framework defines three levels of assurance: basic, substantial, and high, which are differentiated by the level of control and verification that have to be performed for these systems. So while for a basic level, the manufacturer or producer only has to perform a review of technical documentation and self-assessment, substantial implicates the verification of compliance of cybersecurity functionalities, and high assumes also a hardened system which is efficient to cyber attacks. 5 years later, we have the EUCC. It entered into force at the beginning of this year, and it allows ICT suppliers to, it's a voluntary scheme, of course, but references to cybersecurity certifications can be found in many other legislations. And it allows them to differentiate on the market and to give consumers a higher level of trust in their products. And as it is based on the common criteria, it uses this AVA-VAN levels, which are mapped onto the assurance levels from the legislation. So basically, we have the first two levels corresponding to substantial assurance, and the high level, the 3 to 5 levels corresponding to high. In the end, the system and product will get this nice label to inform, and the certificate, of course, that can be accessed, public access, to show compliance with the criteria. For NIS2, as the name says, it's the second edition of the initial Network and Information System Directive. This was initially published in 2016, but given the fact that the cybersecurity landscape has evolved, NIS2 has been adopted in 2022, and it significantly broadens the scope of cybersecurity measures in Europe. What we are interested in from the side of ELECTRON are the information sharing provisions, the risk management, and reporting. And we believe that through ELECTRON components, we can touch on many of these points. It also imposes large fine for non-compliance. And what is also very important, it includes the responsibility of company management in the assurance of cybersecurity. So now there is also a personal responsibility to ensure that cybersecurity is organized in a professional manner in a company. ELECTRON fits, the end of ELECTRON fits quite timely with the entry into force. So 2 years later, many countries are preparing to introduce the national legislation, which is of course more specific. There are several countries who already did that, like Belgium and Croatia, but others like Romania, for example, are in an advanced preparation stage. What is important for us, focusing on energy cybersecurity, is that NIS2 defines two categories of targeted entities. They are called essential entities and important entities. And the energy sector is the first and most important, most essential, I would say, sector in NIS2. So this is the first area that can be targeted. Then you can see here the electricity subsector, and with a whole list of actors and stakeholders here. As with reference to NIS1, there are some small additions. For example, the operators of EV charging networks are also considered now essential entities. Okay, so NIS2 is horizontal, is very general. The network code on cybersecurity, which has been adopted also this year, 2024 in May, if I'm not mistaken, can be seen as an example of implementation of one of the articles in NIS2. So for example, Article 21 states that the essential entities have to implement an appropriate level of cybersecurity. And through the network code on cybersecurity, the energy system operators, which are engaging cross-border energy flows, for example, TSOs, have to implement additional security controls. And also, you see this nested approach, where you have various electricity cybersecurity parameters going from the green area to a yellow area and to a critical impact parameter. And as you go down, the controls, so you go from basic cybersecurity hygiene, so making people aware and for them to take reasonable action to protect the information, to risk assessments, and then you have to implement cybersecurity control, minimum and advanced. And here also ELECTRON has very advanced mechanisms to support this. Okay, for the Cybersecurity Resilience Act, I will not insist very much as the time is not so long. This is a draft proposal, but what we are interested in is that it targets the cybersecurity requirements for products with digital elements. And for our use cases, we are interested mostly in the industrial control system, PLCs, RTUs, IADs, other type of specialized industrial embedded devices, which mainly fall in this area. So 10% of products are targeted by additional requirements in order to show that they do what they say, they do it in a correct way, and they are resilient to cybersecurity attacks. What is also interesting here is that Cyber Resilience Act differentiates between a PLC used in a critical installation of a nuclear power plant, for let's say, so the use of the actual device, and the PLC used for the control of the lights in a conference room, even though they are in the same energy facility. So you also have to consider the intended use of the equipment when mapping this to one of the classes. And to give another example, you have the industrial control systems, and all the industrial control systems that are used in essential entities, so there is a link to NIS2, fall in this class 2. So you need to have a third-party assessment if you use your device in an essential entity as defined by NIS2. So there are interfaces between all these regulations. Okay. For the standards, I think you might know about ISO 27001. It's quite a popular standard. What is relevant from our point of view is that through implementation of ISO 27001, through all its controls and domains, energy system operators can prove compliance with many of the regulations in NIS2 and NCCS. So having a proper information system management system in place can assure compliance. And the IEC 62443 is more specific. It's a series of standards. I will not go through all the categories there, but you see they are grouped in general policies and procedures, system and component level standards. And they are mapped onto 5 security levels. So from 0 to very high security level. So intentional misuse using sophisticated means with extended resources. Okay, so basically that's the context in which we work. Here I've tried to put only 4 bullets regarding what we consider that ELECTRON does for policies and regulations. First of all, through the early work in ELECTRON, we encourage certification and standards compliance through our risk assessment and certification schemes. Through the ELECTRON tools, the state-of-the-art tools, we can assure proper cybersecurity risk management. And just to give a few examples, and you will see more in the technical presentation, we have analysis of network logs, anomaly detection, correlating of events from public and private sources. Very important, we consider that ELECTRON supports information sharing through the MISP network based on the CTI platform that has been developed, which collects data from multiple sources, correlates, scores the data, and provides a clear image to the operators. And what is also critical and often overlooked is the cybersecurity training. Actually, cyber hygiene methodology and cybersecurity training. This is also mandated in the Article 21 of NIS. So to assure appropriate security controls, one of the bullet points is to properly train the personnel, and we have the Prince portal for this. Okay, going towards the end, I will highlight some of these elements, but without going into further technical details, as this will be discussed in the dedicated sessions. So one of the components of ELECTRON is called Collaborative Risk and Certification Framework, Border, and it has 2 modules. One is ARMY for risk assessment, which uses alarms, vulnerabilities, and organizational information to provide a risk assessment report, and that can be used as a preliminary information to show compliance with risk management obligations in the regulations. There is DARCY, a dynamic cybersecurity certification system, which increases the assurance level for the devices used in the industrial control systems. For the information sharing, here are some detailed features of the energy community information sharing, with credit from our colleagues at ATOS and IDENER who worked out on this component. So we have a MISP instance which collects data from various sources, and this is extended through confidentiality management and scoring of the CTI object. So we can use this to show that we collaborate for information sharing. And finally, Prince, you will see a detailed demonstration in the afternoon, covers, it's a portal, an e-learning portal, but with advanced feature, which implements a proper cyber hygiene methodology. It contains various cybersecurity training software and modules, and these are enhanced using AR and VR technologies and tools for more engagement, for more efficient training. At the end, the personnel is evaluated and receives a certification to show that they have successfully passed the requirements of the training program. And this can be done at periodic intervals. Okay, as we are towards the end, we have tried to be quite active. So these are the forums that we participated actively in the past 2 years. There have been some IEEE conferences. We were engaged quite a lot with EISAC through the partner UPP. So we participated in pretty much all meetings of EISEC. EISEC is the information sharing and analysis center for the energy sector. So this is an organization which encourages information exchange in a secure and trusted environment. There were 2 energy cybersecurity forums that we participated, a previous session, the previous dissemination session, where we had presenters from ENISA and the EISEC. We published it's under publishing actually, it will appear shortly, an article in a technical magazine, the SIGRE National Committee Romania Technical Magazine. And we will also be this in November at CIPRE Europe in Madrid, where we have a presentation on the influence that ELECTRON has on NIS2 and NCCS compliance. Okay. Finally, a lot of our knowledge and one of the main objectives of ELECTRON is this portal, the Cybersecurity Lighthouse. It will also be presented in detail in the afternoon. But if you want to get an early peek, you can access this link. Thank you very much for your attention. And if there are questions or comments, that answer.
Thank you, Grigore. Thanks for all your hard work. I don't know if we have a question from the audience here. Okay. And let me check if we have any question from the online. Just a minute. Check it. So Grigore gave you some. Check from the IPC. Grigore give you a hint of 2 of the presentations that will follow in the evening. One is about the Prince and the other is about the Lighthouse. So I don't see any question in the chat. So thanks.
Thank you very much.
So we continue. We finished this session about the policy and regulation and recommendations. We have the next session. We can open the next session that's about the presentation from other research projects. Let me find my presentation. So we have the first project. It's from Eratosthenis project, and we have Konstantinos Dafloukas from ELECTRON Innovation that will do the presentation. Konstantinos, can you hear us?
Yes, sure. Yeah. Hello, good morning.
Morning. So I believe you can share your screen and start your presentation, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we can see your presentation, so you can start. Thanks. Okay, sorry, just to.
Now it's better.
We can see the presentation. Just to.
Yes.
Yeah. No, just a minute. Okay. Yes, we can proceed. Thank you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to this session. My name is Konstantinos Dafloukas, and I'm going to present the Eratosthenis solution for the life cycle management of IoT devices through digital identities management and distributed ledger solutions. So a few words about us as ELECTRON. ELECTRON is the coordinator of the project. ELECTRON acts as a research and innovation consultants with strong participation in the research and innovation projects and applied in several domains like transport and logistics, security, energy, health, and manufacturing. A few words about the Eratosthenis consortium. It consists of 14 partners from 8 countries. The project started on October 2021, and it's about 20 in the March of 2025. So currently we are very close to the end of the project. What led to the necessity of the Eratosthenis solution? Mainly was IoT industrial and scientific apps and focus for the lack of security visibility lack of effective information sharing between organizations. Also, the heterogeneity of IT devices has been considered extremely challenging to establish a trustworthy environment. The lack of common trust enforcement mechanisms and relevant standards was also an additional issue that was identified as an industrial gap. Also, firmware and security updates are infrequent and difficult or even impossible in many cases. It has been noticed also a lack of transparent and data and privacy frameworks, as well as a lack of security training and security protocols adoption for IoT devices. What Eratosthenes brings as innovation and technical outcomes. It creates a distributed, automated, auditable, trust and identity management framework to manage the life cycle of IoT devices. It's considered as the first ever enclosure of cybersecurity features in IoT devices through the deployment of a trust agents. It relies on a decentralized identity management mechanism. It provides the self-encryption and encryption with an automated recovery process. And in relation to the threat analysis models based on federated learning integration of physical and global functions in trust framework. Here we can see the last version of the Eratosthenes architecture. The Eratosthenes architecture envisions an environment with multiple independent domains serving to group operations depending on physical and or logical criteria. Eratosthenes establishes an identity management based on self-sovereign principles. Also, you see that the physical and clonable function is based on authentication is considered to further enhance the security of identification and cryptographic fingerprinting. The whole ecosystem is enabled by the DLTs acting as variable data registries enriched with smart contracts. Within the Eratosthenes projects, we have proceeded with validation of certain pilots and use cases. The first pilot is managed by Airbus India and is based on the connected vehicles. The work effort of this use case is focusing on the vehicle to infrastructure and vehicle to vehicle secure communication and software upgrades. Second pilot is managed by Cheyu in the smart health domain. The work effort is focusing on the implementation of Eratosthenes by onboarding the service provider gateway into their services with a remote patient monitoring system. And the last pilot is managed by the Digital Works on the disposable IDs with the implementation of resilient and secure asset identification, distributed disposable ID service and trust and permission service, and an open source and third-party integration. So what's the role of the DLT in the connected vehicles? We provide some examples here with the final versions. DLT in this use case uses blockchain technology to store information that is used by the modules in the Eratosthenes network. Everything stored in this solution can be verified by members of the network but cannot be modified. The DLT in the smart health pilots enabled to use blockchain to store information that is used by the modules in the Eratosthenes network. And also, something very critical in the smart health domain that can be verified by the members of the network but cannot be modified. Currently, we are on the month 36 of the projects out of the 42 months. And as the final outcome, within this period, we're expecting the final version of the technical outcomes, as well as the start of final validation and impact assessment. Eratosthenes has provided, has contributed to scientific, social, and economic domain. we're expecting through the reducing solutions that will result in the reduced number and impact of cybersecurity incidents. It will provide the efficient and low-cost implementation of the NIS directive and the General Data Protection Regulation. It's considered as an effective and timely cooperation information sharing between and within organizations, as well as self-recovery. Also, it provides better standardization and automated assessment frameworks. It enables the availability of user-friendly and trustworthy online products, services, and businesses in order to promote a stronger and more innovative and more competitive EU. Thank you all for your attention.
Thanks, Konstantinos, for your presentation. I don't know if we have any questions. Someone here from the audience in Hamar? No? Let me check in the chat. Is here something? Okay, so thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thanks. So we can proceed with the next presentation. It's a presentation from the second project. We have three presenters. We have Anael Libihan, it's the coordinator of second project. Then Arnold Spiros will be the scientific and technical coordinator will take over. And finally, Christiana Kiperuda, the dissemination manager of second, will continue. So, Anael, if you can hear us. Okay, I see you already shared your screen. We can see it.
Okay, so thanks a lot for inviting us to your event. So we'll try to be quite brief, and our objective is to highlight maybe some synergies with your project. So very briefly, second project I started 3 years ago. Actually, well, in September 2021. The project just finished last week, so we are happy because everybody has well worked, and we are not working on the reporting. Everything has been submitted also on time, which is quite good. So we are 19 partners from 9 countries. So you can see here in the map where we are, and it's a consortium well balanced between public and private entities. And just to let you know, it was of course funded by the program H2020, and our project was about 6.5 million euros. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so a little bit of context, our problem. Well, we've seen that we wanted to resolve the problem that the industrial sectors are experiencing a number of changes in the recent years. So, for example, there is new models of remote delivery, especially in complex ICT infrastructures. And the level of security awareness is very low compared to the potential of security breach in a critical sector, for example, in healthcare, which is a sector in which is constantly increasing data-driven ecosystem with sensitive data. So it's very important also and very critical to take this problem into account. And we've noticed also there is the need to understand the risks and to complement the traditional platform with countermeasures. So you can share the next slide. Okay. So for second, our objective, the main goal is to develop an automated threat detection platform to identify threats and attacks. In the meantime, we want to promote security as a priority. So for that, we have 4 major pillars. You can see it here. So digital security and privacy, data protection and accountability, collaborative threat intelligence. And the last one is cybersecurity awareness. So for the end user and the stakeholder in the industry, not only healthcare, but well, in different industry in general, our solution could improve the cybersecurity, increase the data protection. For example, well, through the use cases, we'll develop that a little bit more, but for example, adopting a digital security solution and providing some training for the experts or the people working in this sector. So we can go to the next slide also. Okay, so we have, as I mentioned before, we have 4 pilots. So the first pilot, protecting the connected ambulance of the future. Our objective is to improve the transportation safety and to ensure zero error delivery of patient transported. Not only for the patient, but also to ensure that the information has been well delivered also, not only the patient. So there is no cyber attack when from the ambulance we transfer the information to the hospital, for example. The second use case is cybersecurity for connected medical devices and mobile app. So it serves to validate seconds efficiency to deal with cascading effect of cyber attack in connected healthcare infrastructures. So the third one, health data protecting in healthcare supply chain, aim to validate the capacity of our project to ensure the data protection when operational data are exchanged within the healthcare supply chain. Okay. And the last one is, as I mentioned before, to validate the capabilities of our platform and of the second cybersecurity training modules. So for that, we've done different training, well, to test and to ensure that the person can well use also the platform. I will now give the floor to my colleague Arnold, who is the scientific responsible of second. Thank you.
Well, so hello everyone. I hope that you can hear me first of all.
Yes.
Okay, so we will continue our presentation giving more details about the technical aspects and specifically going brief description of the model. So here we can see basically the technical overview. We see the 4 pillars. So we have the cyber threat intelligence module. We have risk and vulnerability assessment. Of course, we take into account privacy and accountability and management. And apart from dealing cyber threats and the vulnerabilities, we also have the cybersecurity training module, which facilitates and contributes toward the safeguarding of the organization in terms of measures. So it raises the awareness of, as we can see down from the cybersecurity training module, we have two types of users. It the training of both technical and healthcare personnel. So not. So moving to the next slide, please. Okay, so first of all, the cyber threat intelligence module. So what it does basically to provide a collaborative toolkit, and it allows the organizations, European stakeholders like CERT, CSERTs to create, exchange, and leverage the cyber threat intelligence. So here we have TEAM, which basically gathers, analyzes, enriches the cyber threat intelligence and sends it to TAM, a module that we will see later, make it available for sharing. And we have the IPL, which basically works as the middleware between medical equipment and the overall second platform. Next slide, please. Okay, then we move to the cyber security risk assessment companion. Here we have a dynamic and event-based based security and privacy risk assessment. Here, as we will see down in the components, we have the main component, which is the CSRAC, and it includes 4 main modules, which the first one being the COCAE, which is basically the risk assessment module of SECANT. And then we have 2 other important modules, the human vulnerability and the technical vulnerability assessment. So as the name implies, the first one targets basically the users, and it tries to assess their awareness and readiness against social engineering attacks, while the second aims to identify and dynamically isolate the vulnerabilities that might affect the assets of the system. Finally, we have the BAE, which is the Behavior Analytics Engine, and this one is targeting basically the behavior of the entity in the network. So it doesn't exactly work with IOCs and other values that might indicate the attack or incident, but it is a bit, let's say, more sophisticated by analyzing the behavior and trying to find abnormalities. Next slide, please. Okay, then we have the privacy, accountability, and identity management. So the privacy and accountability is really important, apart from the safeguarding the system. So in this regard, we have 3 modules. The first one is the TAM that has been mentioned earlier. It's basically works on a distributed ledger technology, and it allows us to securely store and share sensitive cybersecurity intelligence, cyber threat intelligence, and allows for secure and accountable access in healthcare data, providing integrity and provenance data. So then we have the team, which is the digital identity management. Again, as the name implies, it provides identification of professional clients and assets of an organization based on SSI concept. And finally, we have the privacy toolkit, which merges advanced encryption technologies, and it allows to mediate all access to information that is flowing through the TAM module. Okay, and lastly, we have the training part. So as we said, we as SECANT also provide the training both for security experts. So these are the technical users and non-technical users like healthcare personnel. So for this, we have the cyber range, which targets the security professionals, and it uses simulation. So it simulates the SECANT platform, and it allows the users to better familiarize with the platform as well. All this by providing the isolated environment that cyber ranges do. We have the cybersecurity training module, which is a security awareness training module for other professionals which are not security professionals, and it allows them to familiarize with best practices and learn more about security. And then we have the dashboard, which is the module that interacts with the user and allows it to get access to the other components of SECANT. So it is really important to make it as user-friendly as possible and decrease the learning curve so it's self-explanatory and easy to use for the new users. And it provides also we also have the end user application, which provides access to the CSTM and the chatbot app, which allows, again, for non-technical users to train themselves in cybersecurity related aspects. Okay, so this was all for me. I hope that I was on time, and I will give the floor to my colleague Christiana. So, thank you.
Hello from me as well. I hope you can hear me well. I will share with you the second innovations and how we communicated and disseminated these innovations in order to raise awareness and also to reach the target audience that we had set from the early beginning. So to begin with, second introduces innovative risk analysis methodologies which can support public or private organizations and the relevant stakeholders to identify risks which may impact data security and privacy. It offers real-time information sharing capabilities, facilitating cybersecurity professionals in handling and forecasting security incidents, complex attacks, and propagated vulnerabilities. Also, SECANT has a highly scalable ledger infrastructure, which introduces innovations in the field of trust and accountability and enables end-to-end integrity and protection of sensitive operational data. And when we speak about SECANT as a whole, as a solution, our project allows, our SECANT allows for both technologically protecting connected organizations and also empowering the users of these organizations towards their better protection. So, as I said before, I will now move to the communication and dissemination aspect of SECANT and how we proceeded with this aspect. Okay, to begin with the project communication, as you can see, the basic tools that we used are the website and the social media. We are very active in both of them. We had more than 6,000 visitors for our website, which included all our material and also publications and the activities that we had during this period. And when it comes to our social media accounts, we have around 800 followers with more than 150 posts. We have also used newsletters and press releases as communication means. Through our newsletters, we have communicated our milestones and several activities that we had. And also, we published 7 press releases, which mainly included our results and collaborations with other projects and initiatives. When it comes to the marketing material, we were also active in this part, as we both went printed and digital. We had some traditional materials such as the video you can see below in the picture. We had a leaflet, a brochure, but we also produced some printed materials such as a notebook, a stretch ball, a pen, some branded material that helped a lot during our participations in conferences and events and created our brand. And I will now move to dissemination. We disseminated our results with various means. We had for industry-related publications. Our partners participated and presented the project in 19 events and conferences. We published 11 scientific publications, both in journals and conferences. SECANT organized 2 workshops and participated in 4 EU events. And in terms of clustering, our cluster was very active. The cluster that ELECTRON is also part of it. So we had 9 clustering workshops and seminars. And also we produced other joint material, and we are members of other European initiatives relevant to our scope. And the final scope and the final act of our dissemination is our final event, which will take place on the 20th of September. It will be a public online one, and there is an open invitation for all of you, as you can see here. You're more than welcome if you are interested into learning more about the use cases, results, and the added value of our solution. So that was it from my side as well. Thank you very much again for inviting us and for giving us the opportunity to speak about our project.
Thank you all. Thanks for your presentation. We will get back in touch with you about our participation in your final event.
Can they share the link for the registration for this event?
Can you share the link in the chat for the registration?
Sure. Yeah.
For people to see it and register directly.
I will share it now. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Christiana. Do you have any questions from the audience here or the online participants? Okay, so thanks once more, and we will meet in your event in a couple of days. So we will move to the next presentation. It's from Cocoon project, and I will give the floor to Angelos Marneridis. That he's an assistant professor at the University of Cyprus. Can you hear us?
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hi, we can hear you.
Great. So can I share my screen?
Yes, feel free to share it.
Okay, just a sec, please. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can see the presentation, can hear you and see you. Perfect, you can proceed.
Fantastic. Okay, so hi everyone, thanks for the introduction. So I'm Angelos, I'm based at the University of Cyprus and also the KIOS Research and Innovation Center of Excellence. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Electrical Computer Engineering, and I have the huge luck of being the project coordinator for the Cocoon project, which we're nearly 1 year in the project. So if I give you a bit of a background, well, we all know that's why we're doing what we're doing. Cybersecurity is still in the context of the converged power grids. So the convergence of IT technologies with operational technologies is still in its infancy. And we see several initiatives from the EU. For instance, we have the EU ACER network code that was just released in July 2022. Therefore, there was not yet any standardized approach or any standardized regulations on how, for example, cross-border electricity would work in terms of cybersecurity. And we have a variety of missing gaps. So we have a lot of gaps in the context of cross-domain and cross-border mechanisms, not only for cybersecurity, but also for some optimization aspects in the power systems. So we have a huge priority from the EU to interconnect the EU power grids. And at the same time, given the convergence of IT technologies with OT technologies, we need to consider cyber resilience and cybersecurity. Therefore, we need to have protected information exchange across the transmission system operators or the DSOs, and we need to have compatibility of the information flows. Also, we need to identify and further classify cross-border cybersecurity incidents and be in a position to inform our neighboring networks. At the same time, we need to have kind of common principles in which operators would be able to be trained and be in a position to identify and confront risks associated to cybersecurity or cyber resilience, and therefore enhance resilience. Now, given this standard, and I would say this overview that is currently the reality in the EU domain, Cocoon aims to develop trustworthy information exchange. At the same time, given the guidelines from ACER, there was a huge need and a high demand on having a practical early warning system in order to help operators in diverse power system deployments. At the same time, we need to have protection that is not only dealing with the cyber incident per se, but as well of considering the physical impact, the cyber physical effects we have from a given cyber event. Therefore, we need to marry two different worlds. So we need to marry both people working in the area of cybersecurity, but also people working in the area of power systems. In parallel, Cocoon goes a step beyond and proposes a data-driven detection approach for identifying not only known attacks, but also zero-day exploits, so attacks that we haven't seen. And this is distilled out of some existing work that we have done while my time at the University of Glasgow and now at the University of Cyprus. Also, we want to strengthen the resilience of the interactions amongst all the entities that are partaking within the grid stability process. So we have now the energy trading markets, and we know that within this context, there are many renewable energy resources that need to be utilized effectively in order to address several optimization issues of the main grid. And of course, we have countries buying and selling energy. This has to be smoothly integrated and operated. And of course, it has to do with the layer of the grid of how it works, and also with the layer of the information exchange and how this information is used. So Cocoon tries to solve, at least up to a good scale, these aspects, and we propose some directions. So some facts is that that was under the increased cybersecurity call last in 2022. That was when we submitted the proposal. It was accepted, and the project officially started in the 18th of September, and it will end in 2026. So we're only 1 year in. It's an innovation action, therefore we need to reach our solution to a TRL 7. We have 5 academic partners. UCY, University of Cyprus, is leading, and we have Aristotle University in Greece, Universidad de Sevilla in Spain, TU Delft, and the University of Glasgow as an associated partner. And we have 7 non-academic industrial partners. So we've got HEDNO, the Hellenic Distribution Network Operator. We have INK, which is an SME managing an energy community in the north of Greece. We have the Southeast Electricity Network Coordination Center. So it's the regional, I would say, operator of Southeast Europe for transmission system operators. And they deal with the region of Southeast Europe of how we optimize our cross-border transmissions. We also have the European Network for Cybersecurity based in the Netherlands. We have Enexis, which is a DSO in the Netherlands. Have Ingelectus in Spain and Cuerva. Now, all of these partners relate to a given pilot, as you can see from the slides. And we do have dedicated work packages dealing with the corresponding pilot. So the goal is for Cocoon to be tested on real setups, and actually companies within the consortium have invested some good money for us to test the Cocoon solution. Therefore, we have a large-scale PV deployment in Spain that is managed by Cuerva, in Andalusia, where Cocoon will be tested. We have a digital substation set up in the Netherlands, which is based on the requirements from Enexis that Cocoon will be tested in the setup of a substation. And we also have the scenarios of the IT side, how the regional coordinator deals with optimizing TSOs. And also we have the energy community, in which we had to talk with the actual community and assure them that everything will be fine and they will not run out of energy. They won't have to deal with a blackout. So we have a real pilot in Chalkidiki in Greece with 3 PV deployments that serve some of the communities there. So Cocoon will be tested in these setups. Now, if I go more into the scientific side, this concept has been the result of previous work. So we start already with a TRL 3 to 4 in many of the solutions. The idea is that we want to integrate a programmable node nearby the power system, and this programmable node will accelerate information processing through a technology called programmable data planes in the area of networking. So it's It's a close relative to software-defined networking. And through this composition of accelerated packet processing that we have at the bottom, so you see we have the communication monitoring layer at the bottom, we want to instrument and orchestrate some advanced resources through the network where this can serve as micro network functions, as you can see, M and F. This can serve the composition of data-driven processes that require high computation, like vulnerability assessment, anomaly diagnosis, the early warnings system, and threat mitigation through the network. So all this will be realized through this layered approach. So we're dealing with 3 different layers: the communication, the control, measurements, and monitoring, instrumentation, orchestration, and cybersecurity services layers. Whereas the cybersecurity services layers will be offered within a tool set to be used by operators. As you can see on the right, on the very right of the diagram, we've got the operator just looking at the dashboard, utilizing the toolset from Cocoon in order to deal with a given event. So we, as you can imagine, we have, as I said, 2 worlds that we bring together. We bring computer scientists and network engineers with power system engineers together in order to build a cyber physical solution. The physical side comes with the addition of modeling approaches from the power systems engineers for the actual properties of the power system, and these are translated, and of course through monitoring and measurement are observed, and then utilized within the data-driven cybersecurity services that I was referring to earlier. So all this functionality is encapsulated with what we refer to as the Cocoon programmable node, the CPN. So the envisioned instrumentation is that we have this router, these switches that, or even Raspberry Pis that they run the CPN software stack, and we place them in a nearby power system, and they monitor the setup, and they instrument different primitive functionalities like hashing, deep packet inspection, regular expressions, timestamps, etc., in order to synthesize services. So as you can see this example, we want, for example, to conduct anomaly diagnosis over this power system setup. The CPN is monitoring the operational technology traffic within the power system, within this PV installation plant, and then each CPN, for example, in this scenario, we have 3 CPN nodes. They will create a primitive function, so either a timestamp, sampling, or flow statistics, and they will create their own individual micro network function. The same applies for the other 2 nodes, and we have, for example, in this case, we have a chaining of 3 micro network functions, and this will compose a more complex data-driven application, which is anomaly diagnosis. So what we have here, the big picture is that we have an on-site approach that doesn't interfere at all with, it's a passive monitoring approach. It doesn't interfere with the operational setup, and it can do anomaly detection by passively observing the network and identifying if something is going wrong. Now, going to the CPN technology is something, again, part of work that we did in the past, and we have an extended track record on this. So essentially, we bypass the kernel by using what we refer to as a user space data plane development kit, and we implement more advanced user space applications at the top. As you can see, we have the user space here. We have the kernel that deals with packet processing on these nodes. And by using the DPTK, we can directly write modules that can interfere with the network interface card of a given device, for instance, a network switch or a network router. In this way, we can accelerate packet processing, and we can do some really cool stuff over the network using the network resources. And this is the existing architecture. So imagine that on the top, we have a server. Based on this diagram, we have a server that adheres to the BP Fabric architecture, which is a kind of a programming programs that they enable you to write C code with appropriate packet processing procedures and routines. And we have at the bottom, we have our network device, the node, that interacts with the server with a southbound API that we developed here at Cocoon. And we have advanced low-level packet processing procedures that gives us all these rich, I would say, enriched processing and accelerated processing in order to construct the services I was referring to earlier. So this is just for you to have a glance of what the CPN is about, and that we deal with real hardware. So we deal on the real hardware that will be installed on the PV plants. Now going with some focus on vulnerability assessment and risk profiling, we already have a cyber threat intelligence tool that through some interactions and of course MOUs with a cybersecurity firm that I prefer not to name, we have globally distributed honeypots. We have 55 honeypots right now running, and we have done extensive work on tracking IoT botnets that spread across the internet and the instrument large-scale internet attacks. Many of them target power systems on industrial protocols. And these are real data and this is a real snapshot from the tool that you can see. So this is what we already have, and now we are integrating it in order to correlate the data from this bot pro with a local monitoring local measurements from an operational setup. For instance, we capture measurements from IEC 104 or Modbus TCP, and then we correlate that with what we know from the external information of what kind of trends we have in terms of attacks, and then we create our newly formed graph to quantify vulnerabilities and exploits within our own local setup. So the idea is that we see the trends externally from the internet, we see what kind of attacks are there based on botnets, etc. We know the structures of these botnets across many autonomous systems, and then we try to figure out which is the probability and the risk associated to our own setup. So this is, I think we're on a good track. We already have this partially running in the lab, but BotPro was a tool that was developed in the past, and it works just fine with real data. And for anomaly detection, we're doing a deep learning approach that is already running in TU Delft in their digital substation, and we're using recurrent neural networks. So this is just BotPro of how it deals with in the wild over the internet. So it analyzes all the structural properties of botnets, which IP addresses, which autonomous systems across the internet, how they spread, and which IP addresses they deal with, or which networks. And this is how we do our scanning. It's an extensive tool, and we have published extensively over this tool. And this is the output of the early warning system when we do risk scoring, a vulnerability critical path visualization. So on the left, you see what we produce out of a small measurement sample within our hardware in the loop process we have at KIOS at the University of Cyprus. And we pretty much identify, based on Modbus TCP, which are the vulnerabilities associated to the devices. You can see we have the icons of the devices running something, and we deal, if we zoom on the right, we see, for example, that the IP address with 54.185.173.138 relates to a CVS score of 6.1, so it's medium towards high, this vulnerability score as a risk, and it relates directly with an exploit that, based on the BotPro observations, we have seen it extensively. Therefore, the color here is magenta color, so it means that it's a high risk of having this exploit in our setup. So that's an example of how we correlate operational traffic of operational technology ICS protocols with what happens in the wild. And yeah, that's pretty much from me. These are the partners again. And in terms of Cocoon, you can see the website. We also have an ongoing Spotify channel where we have lots of people talk about their research. You can join, and also the LinkedIn page And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you very much. Can you copy paste the Spotify link? I find maybe it's interesting in the chat here that people can directly access it. Okay. Thanks a lot. So I don't know if someone has any comments or questions from the audience here. Let me check the chat. No, I don't see. I think so. Once more, thanks a lot. Good. Okay, actually, Arnold has a question. So, Arnold, you can proceed. Arnold, we cannot hear you. It's like sort of interference. I don't know, sort of static. Can you check your mic?
Oh, now?
Now we can. Can you speak?
Yes, yes.
Now we can hear you, Arnold.
Awesome, thank you. So first of all, I would like to thank Angelos. It was a really nice presentation, really interesting. So first of all, congratulations for your presentation. And my question now concerns the bot pro that you mentioned.
Yes.
Maybe I missed that, but is it possible to give a bit more details, like if you use any honeypot, let's say, platforms that are out there, if you use any existing honeypots that you build upon, if they're custom.
Okay.
If you can
yeah. So Bot Pro has to do with the companies. I don't know if you know Okta. So it's a cybersecurity firm dealing with identity management in the US, and they host various honeypots, and we have an MOU with them, so we can use that. That's what we use for Bot Pro, and we also have access to some other honeypots that, for example, a honeypot I have developed while I was an academic in the UK, in Lancaster and Glasgow. So these are real honeypots that they track. There are several rules. They're highly interactive honeypots. Some of them are cloud-based. Some of them are on actual servers. So they're in total, I think the current Bot Pro tool utilizes 55 honeypots.
So they are high interactive honeypots, and they're not based on open source ones like Diania or Compot something. They're
no. They're customized.
Specific ones. Okay. And they are all targeting IoT attacks, and they try to do IoT attacks, right?
I mean, for instance, they can capture all the Mirai-like or Mirai-related spreads, so the malware strains or peer-to-peer botnets. So it covers a variety and emulates a variety of IoT devices, either embedded systems or IoT devices.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Arnold, for your question. I don't know if someone else wants to ask something. Okay, Angelos, thanks a lot for your presentation. It sounds very interesting. Good. You have a lot of work ahead, so I hope everything goes well and you have a successful project. So from our side, we will close this session. We will get back at 11 local time. We will have a short coffee break, and we will get back at 11. Okay, thanks all the presenters in this session, and I hope you will stay for the rest of the event.